Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Well, we're living in an age of great tumult. We are in the midst of a COVID crisis, a pandemic, and the usual human needs that people have are even more so. They're even more intense. And I have to offer you the most amazing guest, Will Amason, who is an energy healer and an intuitive empath and a life coach. And I want you all to know that the way that I know Will is that I am one of his students. I am one of his students of meditation. I take his class every Thursday evening, and it is a guided visualization that brings me to the most beautiful places that I never would have gone to on my own. So how is that, Will, for an introduction?
Oh, that's beautiful, Dr. Duffy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me as a guest on your radio show.
Oh, it is. I cannot tell you how much I've been looking forward to this. With that,
me too.
Yeah, yes. So how would you? What's your take? What would you say about who comes to you and why, and what you can offer them?
Well, as an intuitive empath, I attract lots of different types of individuals. But I would say the common thread of people who find their way to me are in a transition phase of their life, right?
Yes.
They're looking for some emotional clarity, some deep understanding about what's going on with their deeper issues. And they've reached a point where their life's not working the way it is, and they're seeking a solution. And what I have to offer is just a mirror to hold up to most people. Instead of looking out in the world, let's look inside. Let's look inside what's going on at a deep, profound level. And with my intuitive empath abilities, it helps me form the right question, because every client is different. Every client's different. And I never know where the conversation is going to take us until the conversation starts, right? So just a way of listening to the way a person answers a question, what brings it up, and it's going to direct what the next step is. So that's the intuitive part.
Yeah, and just to make it very personal for everyone, I was in the hospital recently. I had what's called a heart ablation for a condition called atrial fibrillation. And I told Will that right before his session. He created for us, but intuitively for me, a whole visualization on healing the heart. And you used a magic word for me, Will, the word recalibration. And I keep saying that. I have recalibrated my heart. I am recalibrating my heart. And the idea of the heart being energetic, and to give the heart kind of help with the right kind of energy. In other words, not under energy, not over energy. And I know a friend of mine gave me a book, a little quote book saying for women who do too much. Yeah. And her inscription was, "You do too much, although I am the benefactor of what you do." So that's where I am in life with calibrating my heart and my life in that way. And I just want you to know, and everyone to know, how much you helped me in that.
Thank you. Well, thanks for letting me know that. And it's true for all of us. Our heart is a Geiger counter for us on how we navigate through life. And it's not widely known, but it's been proven scientifically that our heart actually have neurons associated with them, that the heart actually has its own small brain. It has the ability to think aside from our brain and our head. So it has some special neuron cells that are associated with the heart, where the heart has that ability to lead us and to guide us through a decision-making process of listening to what's going on. I had a decision to make this week about just some investments, just totally where do I want to put my money at this point in time. And so I'm hearing all of this information. You get a lot of, you go to this website, you talk to your financial advisor, you have all of this data, you have all the logic, you have all the reasoning, which is for the head. But how does it sit in the heart, right? What is the best decision for you? And all of that information may be accurate, it may be true, and it may be factual, it may be able to be proven historically, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always the best way to make a decision based purely on logic. And so when we can tune into our hearts and let the heart guide us through the intention-making process, through setting an intention, and I just got really quiet in my meditation, and I just got, guide me to my correct course of action. I'm waiting to feel what feels right for me. And you just wait for the universe to speak to you through a conversation with another person. Someone will share a Twitter feed or a YouTube video or a book recommendation. And pay attention, because those are signs from the universe to help guide you make decisions.
What amazing. Let me just stop you for a minute, Will, because such a seemingly simple question. What feels right for me?
Yeah.
It's so direct, right to the point. And yet, how many people ask themselves that? Very few. They say, what do I need to do to survive in the world? Which is very understandable. What are my next obligation expectations? Who wants what from me? And all of that. And when you say what feels good for me right now, that also, besides intentionality, I just want to bring up the topic of boundaries, right? To be able to say no to certain things and yes to others. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you because you were talking about my favorite topic, the heart. The heart.
Well, you brought up, thank you for interjecting that thought, because, what's right for ourselves is not right for other people, right?
Right.
And, when you were speaking, what kind of came to mind is that idea of confirmation bias, right? When we have an idea of what we think we should, right, we seek out or we'll call a friend who we know will agree with us. We will seek out information to confirm our bias on what it is. So, that's not the correct way to make a decision, right?
Right.
What I'm talking about is the exact opposite, is don't call your friend. Don't look for don't go seek out confirmation. Wait for the confirmation to come to you. And there's the difference. It's the receiving rather than the aligning with and going towards and advancing towards that which you feel safe and familiar.
So, what I say, I'm a psychotherapist, and I teach at Nassau Community College as well. And I talk a lot about responding rather than reacting, and teaching people to really give pause, to step back. Because why do we have the kind of technology that allows us in different states to be seeing each other and transmitting this on the radio? And we have most people in the world living in their shadow self. Their primitive brains have taken over. And a lot of us are in a state of, the stress response called fight or flight, or you add the third F, freeze. And what people do as a result is they're very impulsive and instant. So when you say, step back and receive, I think that in and of itself, Will, is counter-revolutionary.
Yeah, it is. It was a moment, when I just said, when I wanted to make a decision, the first thing that I did was get still, get quiet, and I went within to ask my question. And that is, that's where the answer for everyone is. It's within. But how do we get there? Because, like you said, most of us are in this fight or flight. The sympathetic nervous system has taken over. And that is really one of the reasons I teach meditation, and I'm so fond of meditation, is the fact that through conscious breathing, through conscious awareness, you have a moment to step out of fight or flight or freeze, and you activate the sympathetic nervous system through a slower breath, through focused inward thinking, and that allows you that calm. And once you turn the brain off, the calm on, the heart, you can listen to those neurons in the heart. You can listen to that intuitive wisdom that our heart has, which is going to guide us. So being still is so important.
So it's not about turning off our sympathetic nerve system that we need. It's so activating it. So can you
activating the parasympathetic nervous system?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
I misspoke there. Sympathetic is the fight or flight. Parasympathetic is the calming aspect. Yes.
So we have this mutual thing in our wonderful bodies to activate us when we're in threat and to calm us when we're out of threat. Mm-hmm. So we have that homeostasis, that cycle, the way animals in the wild have, right? They are always in fight. No, they're not always. When they are in fight, flight, they fight or flee. And afterwards, they're fine. Mm-hmm. Like it's over, like and they're in the present moment, enjoying nature. And we say, I can't believe he said that to me. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how that person was rude to me. And that question goes on all day long, which keeps the fight-flight mechanism ongoing. Is that it?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So meditation puts a pause on the sympathetic nervous system. Exactly. And so we can plug in and activate the parasympathetic, which is the calming part of our heart, our brain, our body, all of it, I guess. Yeah,
so there's an organization called Heart Brain Institute that I'd like to bring up. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they have done studies, and the term that they use is something called Heart Brain Coherence, being in a coherent state. And that is basically when you've downregulated the sympathetic nervous system and you've turned on the parasympathetic nervous system, and you're in this very calm, peaceful, tranquil state. So the heart coherence, which is interesting, is in the space of a positive emotion, such as gratitude, compassion, or just a willingness to care or be concerned about the person who's in front of you. I always liken it to sometimes some world event will stir us to action. There's something that triggers us to want to get involved at a very passionate level, to either volunteer for a cause, to help. When you see someone in need, like maybe a tornado comes through the neighborhood. It does here in Texas, right? Because this is where I live. And so it can happen just overnight, and all of a sudden that whole neighborhood is devastated, and people have lost their homes. There's nowhere to go.
Right.
So, that human nature is, what can I do to help? Can I provide food? Do they need shelter? Do they need clothes? And so that state of giving, that state of wanting to help, there's a powerful emotion there of we're connected. I'm here for you. I've got you. That's the type of heart energy I'm talking about. That passionate feeling of compassion, that passionate feeling of connection. And I'm here and we're together, and together we're going to get through this. When you can open up that space in the heart, that space, that's called heart coherence. You're in a state of you're not in fight or flight. You're in the exact opposite. You're in almost a bliss state of connection. When the brain harmonizes and the left side and the right side of the brain kind of synchronize, that's called brain coherence, when you can link your left brain and your right brain together. So that's called whole brain thinking, when you can kind of look at things there. So you've got the whole brain balance. And then when you've got the heart in a positive emotion, when you yoke the brain and the heart together in that balanced state, that's called heart brain coherence. And when you're in that state, the physiology of our body changes. And there are studies that reveal that that's when these positive neurohormones and neurochemicals are created in our body, like the love hormone, the oxytocin, right? The feel-good hormone, the dopamine, and the serotonin, and the creativity. All of these begin to get stimulated. And what Heart Brain Institute has found is that, and this is what I try to create in my meditation, that if you can hold this state of being for 3 minutes, that's not a long time.
No.
3 minutes, but that will yield 6 hours following that 3 minutes of your brain and your body emitting these positive hormones. So a 3-minute investment yields 6 hours of a wonderful feeling of and of health, of well-being, of focus, clarity. So the power of meditation is exponential of really what you can accomplish if you can get still, connect your heart to your head, and get into that positive space and open your heart where you really genuinely can feel passion, you can feel love, you can feel concern or genuine caring, and everybody feels differently. You know, there's not one emotion that's best for anyone, but it's the one you can access the easiest. It's the one you can conjure up, because once you can conjure that feeling within, then everything else will trigger.
And I find that gratitude is the best way to access that.
Oh, good. Yes, that's an easy one for many, many people.
Yeah.
Back to gratitude.
Yes. And do you have any other ways that people, you say you can do this and you can do this fairly easily and directly? I want to go over for everyone the heart-brain connection, because what you're saying, Will, is so important. I want to make sure everyone understands that they can practice these 3 minutes that you're talking about. Yeah. So how do you access that? The happy, I'm going to call them happy hormones.
The happy hormones. So when we inhale, it activates our sympathetic nervous system. It prepares us for action. And when we exhale, it stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so the inhale is sympathetic, the exhale is the calming parasympathetic.
And just to review for everyone, sorry, Will, that we have the sympathetic nerve system when there's some sense of threat or danger, and we move into fight, flight, or freeze. Exactly. Right, and then the para is the calming. So when we exhale, we calm ourselves. Fascinating. Right. I'm reminded of Terry McMillan's book, Waiting to Exhale.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I like that title. I've not read the book.
And they made a movie of it as well. Yeah. So you have to read the book, see the movie. No, right? Not really. You don't. You can get the point by the title is good enough. Yes. Yeah.
Well, we think that, okay, let's do math. 1 breath in, 1 breath out. You're exactly where you were. You haven't changed your state of consciousness, all right? Okay. So a simple change in your breathing rhythm is one of the ways to invoke or induce a parasympathetic state. 2 counts in, 4 counts out.
Oh.
So it's inhale, inhale, exhale, 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 exhale. So over a period of 3-4 minutes, the ratio of your exhales exceed the number of inhales. And so by consciously breathing and changing your rate at which you breathe and the types of breaths, you can create a parasympathetic state within the body. So that's a very easy way to make that happen.
Wow. You know, I've been meditating for years on and off and taking classes and reading about it. No one ever explained it to me this way. Math, right? 2 in, 4 out. You know, they say Right. Go to your breath, count up to 4, count down to 4. That's what I've heard. I haven't heard 2 in and 2 out.
Yeah, there's so many different types of breathing patterns, and that's what pranayama yoga is all about. The energy of the breath and letting the breath carry you through different states of consciousness. But the parasympathetic, if you want to induce a parasympathetic state, that's best to start with. Like if you're starting your meditation, you wouldn't want to continue very long, right? But there's, I would say, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of this breathing routine. And inhale 2, exhale 4, and then maybe an even count of a 4 count in, 4 count out.
Okay.
Then just kind of maintains that. It's a little easier, right? But at the very beginning, if you want to get out of the sympathetic state, the quickest way is to just change your breathing pattern, changing your breathing rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
And isn't there something called holipic breathing? There are several breathing techniques, but where people can actually move into bliss, but they can also go so deep that they can remember childhood memories and even do emotional discharge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The breath controls, like you said, the state of consciousness, and the length of the breath. The longer the breath, the more calming. So if you're wanting to stir up an emotion, you're wanting to bring something to the surface, the breaths get shorter and quicker together. So,
yeah.
This will help start to increase emotions. It can bring anxiety to the surface. Whatever's closest to the surface that needs to be released will come up for observation, for feeling, recognition, and ultimately for healing.
Wow.
So the slower breath, and there's something also in yoga called kumbhaka, which is a breath hold. And there are different types of when you breathe. You can breathe in. I remember when I was a little kid, we used to have a pool, and we would take a breath, and we'd see who could hold our breath the longest. We'd take a big breath of air.
Yes.
We'd try to sink to the bottom of the pool and hold our breath. And I could probably do it maybe 60 seconds, maybe 75 seconds at that time. And so that's one style of breathing. Another one is where you actually breathe all of your air out. You empty your lungs, and you hold your breath. So when you have an empty lung, and you exhale, that is a very powerful state also, which puts you directly into a void state, the stillness, where you almost calm, you definitely calm the brain down, but it's hard to think of anything. You're just so calm and still.
That still point, right? That precious still point between our inhale and our exhale. What you're doing with having all the breath out and then holding it keeps you physiologically in that still point. That is so brilliant.
Yes. Here's another little side bit on that from physiology. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I've read about this, but and it's a little more anecdotal than scientific. But when you're in your breath hold, right? It also in India, it's more about it in their yoga practices. It stimulates the release of stem cells in our body. Now, stem cells are the master cells, right? Stem cells are cells that can mutate and become anything. And when we are, as a fetus and we're growing, and the stem cells are just creating our little body left and right.
Right.
So once the fetus is born and the infant is born and it takes its first breath of air, the amount of stem cells drastically reduce because it then enters into an oxygen environment. And stem cells do not like oxygen. So they go to the deep, dark crevices of our body, like inside our bone. They're like deep in, away from oxygen. So there's all kinds of stem cell therapy. I've actually had stem cell therapy on an injury where that's a whole nother conversation. But stem cells are in our consciousness about how healing they can be. If you can inject stem cells into an injured area of your body, a broken bone, a torn muscle, an injured organ, disease, or wherever, these stem cells have the ability to repair and regenerate. Now, what the yogis knew, that when you go into this kumbhaka state, or this breath hold state, and you hold your breath, not only are you getting into that still point, but you're also, in that moment, through your intention, the stem cells come out into the bloodstream because the oxygen is there. So they're able to travel through our body pretty quickly. And the longer that you can stay in this intermittent hypoxic state, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes at max, but usually 90 seconds to about 2 minutes is the window.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
90 seconds.
90 seconds. 90. Did I say minutes? 90 minutes.
No, I don't know. I don't think you
minutes.
did. I'm just kidding you. 90 seconds to 2 minutes. I'm sorry, 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And because when you go to get a CAT scan or something like that, and they say, hold your breath, and it's like, oh my God, and I can't wait until they say breathe.
It is.
Breathe. Are they ever going to say breathe?
Right?
Yes. That is absolutely brilliant, Will Amason.
Yeah.
And I have to just let you know, and everyone know, we have only a couple of minutes left. And the good news for everyone is that Will is coming back next week. We are having a part 2 of Will's heart energy healing. Okay, I just made up a term. I'm writing it down. I love it. Heart energy healing. And I just want to say to the people who might be thinking, okay, I want to deal with this stress from this COVID. And now I'm hearing about breathing again. I always hear about deep breathing. Okay, deep breathe. Okay, deep breathe. Deep breathe. Everything will be fine. Deep breathe. And I'm thinking about people saying, oh my goodness, is that all there is? But of course there's much more. But what you're talking about is the pathway, right? The threshold into attuning your body to less physical stress, that stress of fight, flight, because the brain does not know the difference between the saber-toothed tiger and your boss's crooked eyebrow. The brain, right? The brain registers threat and tries to help us survive by getting us to fight or flee or freeze. So it's a matter of really being aware of the breath. And I am so excited that you're doing a second show with us, Will. And I just want everyone to know that I'm very happy to be here as your host. And if you ever want to reach me, you can through Dr. Duffy Spencer at Gmail. If you want a kind of psychological version, even than the meditation, the holistic approach, Dr. Duffy Spencer at gmail.com. So, Will Amason, I want everyone to know how to get in touch with you.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I have a website. It's my name, willamason.com. So it's WILLAMASON.com. And my contact information is there. And kind of a little bio and a list of things that I do in meditation. And I'd love to see you guys. So come visit me.
Wonderful. I'm going to look you up. I want to read more about you. So Will Amason, AMASON.com.
Yes.
So this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.